Okay, now that we've got our text that we've written on, let's start getting into some motion tracking. Okay, so the first thing I need you to do is import the phone launch shot.mp4 into your After Effects. I brought this into my Write On Text project because I'm gonna motion track the shot and then put the Write On Text on like the keyboard or something right now. So what I'm going to do is drag this phone launch shot down to the new composition icon and create a new composition based on that shot. Now first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to rename it up here. I'm going to call this camera track, and then I'm going to duplicate it, Command D, and I'm going to call this one simple track. Okay, and the simple track we're eventually going to delete because I'm just going to show you some simple tracking. But while I do that, in the background, I want my camera to be tracking as well. So go to the phone launch shot camera track composition and then select this layer, the footage that you imported, right click on it and then select track camera.
How did you duplicate it? Sorry.
I duplicated it up here.
Yeah.
So I made a composition from it, and then to duplicate it you just hit Command D to duplicate, and then you got 2 copies of it. One of them is camera track, one of them is simple track. In fact, I can just rename them that. Camera track, simple track. Okay, so I'm in the camera track, and I want you to right click on your video layer, it should be the only layer in there, and select track camera. Okay, and what that'll do is it'll put the 3D camera tracker effect on there.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was renaming. What did you say to do? You said on the camera track one?
Select in the camera track timeline, the footage layer that you have in there should be the MP4, the phone launch shot.mp4. Right click on that, select track camera. And then that will put the 3D camera tracker effect on that layer. Then what you need to do to get a better read on this, twirl down the advanced settings and then turn on detailed analysis. And then we can let that go in the background. Alright, so let's go to our project panel and then open up the simple track. It looks the same as the camera track, but we're going to do a simple track of this keyboard. So what we need to do in order to track footage is we need to double click on the layer to bring it up in the layer panel. See, now we got all this stuff down here. Now we need to go to our tracker window, which mine's right here, but if you don't see the tracker window, you can go to Window and then select Tracker, and then that'll pop it up. So what we need to do, I need to increase the quality of this. I need to see it at full quality. That's simple track. Okay, full quality.
How do you change it to full quality?
Hold on. Yeah, no, I did. Why does that look terrible still? Oh, it's because I have this fast previews. Let's turn that off. Put that on final quality. So this needs to be on full. This needs to be on final quality. This little lightning viewer. Now if I double click on it, that still looks bad. It shouldn't. But anyway, what we need to do is track motion. So if I select track motion in my tracker, Then I get this nice little track point. And I'm going to pick something on the keyboard that's super identifiable, like a key. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to actually have that little diamond be the thing I'm going to track. And then, so that we have these two boxes. One of them is kind of the box that tries to keep the object that we're tracking inside of it. And the outside box is the look ahead box. And since most of my motion on this shot is side to side, I'm going to do a side to side look ahead, kind of expand the box out sideways a little bit. Question?
How do you move the box onto the thing? I try to drag it over and just drags a little plus sign over.
Well, the first thing I did was I kind of like expanded this out a bit, kind of pushed the box bigger, and then if you click inside the bigger box somewhere, rather than on that little plus, because you can move that little plus thing around, but I want to kind of like X marks the spot right there.
Okay.
Then I can narrow in and make that box a little smaller, make that box a little smaller. Okay. There are several different kinds of tracking. Your book talks about a few. This one is really simple tracking. So what we're going to do is just analyze. So if you click on the play button next to analyze, it'll analyze it. It'll crash your After Effects. And then you have to start over again.
So mine didn't show the analyze. How do I make it show analyze?
You have to have your footage open in the layer panel.
So it tracked it until that key disappeared from the film.
Good. That's good. Yours did it. Great.
It's workies. Can you get it to a, can you then move that track to a different track or what would you do?
Yeah, it disappeared.
Yeah, then what you do, okay, so let me analyze this real quick. So, tracker. So, what that's doing is it's giving this little square position coordinates for every frame. And then what you do is you tie that, you attach that to a layer. And then if you want the text to be right here, stop, okay. So what that'll do is it'll allow me to place something right there. So let's bring in, just drag down the right on text question.
So that's why in big movies on the green screens you have the pluses all over, or whatever, all the dots. You motion track those dots on the green screen.
Yeah, that's why you have like little marks all over the place, so that you have a way to track the motion. Because solid green just in the background doesn't give you any sense of depth and how far away things are. So yeah. All right, so I'm going to put my right on text in here, and then double click on this again. Then what I need to do is, with my layer panel open, I have my tracker selected. Then what I need to do is tell it where to go, and I edit target.
How did you get
In
all
your
your
tracker
little green
panel.
boxes?
How did I what?
How did you get all those little greens?
That's when you push play and analyzed it, and your little tracker followed all the way over. That's how you got them too. I'm in my layer panel right now. If you're in your composition panel, then you're not going to see them. You need to be in your layer panel. And if you closed it somehow, then you need to double click on this phone launch shot.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Okay, it's
There's the
back.
wrong one.
All right. So then we need to go click Edit Target for this tracker, and we need to make it the right on text layer. So click OK to that. Then when you click Apply, it'll apply the X and Y dimensions, and it'll put a for the go back to my composition panel. For the write on text now, there's a position keyframe that corresponds to every one of those tracker points. Okay, so let's watch it work. So now it's following it. But what happens when we get right there to this last frame?
Oh, it gets stuck.
It gets
Yeah.
stuck. Then what we need to do is delete the rest of these keyframes, maybe put a null on over here, and then parent this to the null and track from this frame over so that the null can then push the ready text off the rest of the way. So that's really simple tracking. That's position only. See, it kind of looks like it's stuck to the keyboard, which is pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's do another kind of tracking. Let's turn off that position keyframe there. Let's delete tracker number 1 off of that. And now we can start again. I'm going to double click on the video to bring it down here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on like this frame so I can get more in the shot. And I'm going to track motion, but I'm going to add rotation, which will give me 2 trackers. So because it's handheld, as I'm moving the camera, I'm kind of tilting it sideways a little bit. So let's track 2 keys. I'm going to track this one.
So you deleted the motion tracker from the previous?
Yeah, I just deleted all that stuff. And then I want to find another key that's on the same row to get my rotation.
How did you bring up 2 of the boxes?
I clicked on this rotation
Okay.
selector right here. So now, see the line connecting the 2 of them? That determines how much rotation it'll give. So let me track this forward till that tracker gets to the edge and then stop it. Now I want to go back to the beginning keyframe and I'm going to track backward now. So analyze backward. And I can get to the beginning of my clip with this. Okay, good. Now if I edit target, write on text is still the target, and then if I click apply X and Y, now I've got position keyframes and rotation keyframes. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, so now the baseline of the ready looks like it's actually sitting on the keyboard. See how it's rotating down as I'm rotating the camera? Question?
So did you just hit the play button to analyze it, or did you do something different? You said analyze backward?
Yeah, so the backward facing play button, that's analyze backward.
That one, okay.
But because I started in the middle of the track, the middle of the clip, I started the tracking forward here. I returned to this frame to do the track backward. Because if you start from this frame and start tracking backward, then you'll track over your old track points, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so I started my track here, went forward, stopped it here. Then I returned to this frame, and then did the analyze backward to analyze it in reverse. All right, so if we add scale, we can use the distance in between the 2 trackers to determine the size of it. Okay. So there is a little bit about simple tracking. How are we on time here? That was only 15 minutes. Hopefully that worked out for everybody. Let's do another type of tracking. I am going to delete this tracker again. Go back here. And now I'm going to go forward in time to this part of my animation. And I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go up to the animation and then track in Mocha AE. We're actually going to track the face of this camera in Mocha. So Mocha is a separate program, which is really awesome. If you see this under registration, just say register later, and then you can just click no on that and then start, because you just want to get going in here.
How
So
did you get there?
in After Effects, select the phone launch shot.mp4 layer in your simple track timeline. Go up to animation, track in Mocha AE. And then that'll launch Mocha. Okay, so Mocha's bouncing. It opened up. So just click register later, because your computers are in deep freeze. And then if it says configure it, just cancel that. And then there is another Mocha sign that came up, said view, manual, or start. Just click start. And then this will come up. This is a Mocha project. So this would become another category in your working folder. So you have your After Effects folder. I'd make a Mocha folder if you're going to start tracking in Mocha. Right now, this is being saved on my desktop because it's going to, by default, save itself next to the shot that you're tracking. Okay, so if you don't make a new folder and save it, by default, Mocha will save it next to the video that you're tracking. So I click OK. And right now, it's the entire shot. So you have kind of this additional timeline window. But what we need to do is move this playhead over to where we can see the phone. And I'm going to have this little part of my project start just before the phone comes on the screen. And then I'll set this as my endpoint. Then I need to go back here. I don't want to spend too much time tracking this. So I'll go, let's just see how it looks if I go to right here. Set my out point, and then that'll become the length of my project. So let's go to a frame where we see the whole phone on screen. Now, what Mocha does is it tracks shapes and it tries to track planes. So the plane of the surface of this phone is what we're interested in right now. So if I go to my X-spline tool, which is another type of pen tool, and I draw a shape around the outside of the phone, I might, let's see, I'm interested in the surface of the phone, so I'll maybe just cut that shadow out a little bit. Then close that. Then I have this shape that I can move around. And if I hit Command A to select all those points, these little handles outside will like pull the detail more out to the corners or round it off. You can do that to one at a time. But this is probably going to be fine. Might round these out a little bit. Okay, so next up we have this grid, this planar grid, that'll try to determine the plane that we're tracking. And then this surface is another thing that we can track. So we have, let me just back up a little bit. These points are kind of around the shape that we're going to track. Then this surface we want to put on the four corners of the phone. Okay?
How did you make it connect and be done so it's not doing your little thingies anymore? You said
Um,
was it A you said?
Well,
To release
I
it,
just-
so-
when I was drawing these points,
Mhm.
you can either double click and that'll be the last point, or you can click on your first point again and that'll do it. Okay, so what the surface does is that says this is the surface that I want my phone to be. And then this grid will show you your vanishing points to show that as you draw this surface, what you want is for your grid to all these lines to be parallel to the four edges of your object. So I might pull that one down that way a little bit. Honestly, I've done Mocha quite a bit, but I would say that I'm still learning it. Okay, so what that did was it created this layer 1, okay, which we can rename if we want to. Phone tracker. But with that selected, that'll bring up all this stuff. And then we have a keyframe down here right on our playhead, which is this green thing. But hopefully, this is clean enough that we won't have to do too much more motion tracking. This is like really basic Mocha tracking. So what I'm going to do is start out by tracking backward. So if I hit this track backward button, then it'll analyze it and see how good that is. Well, kind of. Just drifted a bunch. I have a problem here, and I thought I'd be okay, but it's seeing the reflection inside the camera, and it's seeing that as part of what I'm supposed to be tracking. So there's a way to track that stuff and exclude it from this track. But like I said, I try to shoot stuff so I can be bad at Mocha. So let me track forward and just see if I can get this to work better. Yeah, it's doing the same thing. It's looking at the pixels inside here. Okay, so here's what I got to do. I have to kind of start this over again. So I'm going to delete this. Turn these off. Like I say, I'm kind of bad at Mocha. So I got this nice edge down here that's not interacting with the light too much. So let me draw a shape around these pixels. Hopefully it'll be able to track these. And then what I'm going to do is do my X plus tool, which will add a new shape to this same layer. And I'm going to try and track this top stuff and hope that the light doesn't interfere with it. Okay. Now if I grab my surface tool, I can put my four corners on it. And then see if my plane looks pretty good. It does. Okay, now I'm going to try to track. See if that works better. See, I'm watching the blue shape. It's kind of hard to see here, but I'm watching that blue shape just to... It's actually doing a really good job of following that right off screen. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so that's it there. Now what I want to do is return to this first keyframe. All this blue stuff means that's been analyzed. So I'm going to go click on this Go to Next Keyframe, which will put my playhead back on this first one. And I'm going to track forward. This might, yeah, see that knuckle's going to come and screw everything up. Okay, so just for demonstration purposes, Let's just track that much of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to export the tracking data. Or shape data, we could do that too. But export shape, tracking data. And we can do an After Effects corner pin, or we can do transform data, which would be position, scale, and rotation. So let's try that first. Position, scale, rotation, and select copy to clipboard. Then we got to go back to After Effects with that stuff copied to the clipboard, and we need to actually we need to find where we are with this frame right before that phone comes on, which I think was right here. Then let's make a null object, new, null, and then paste it. Paste all that stuff. Let's see here. It's following it. We might actually need the corner pin data though. Okay, now let's take a shape layer and draw our own shape and see how good we did. And then make that shape layer follow the null. Okay, it's a little bit drifty.
And you just hit Command V to copy onto the null.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just with the null selected, you just hit Command V and it'll paste all that data from Mocha straight onto it. So let's try a corner pin effect this time. Let's create a new solid and just let it be the size of the thing, the composition. Then go to Mocha AE and let's export the tracking data as corner pin. Copy that to the clipboard and then paste this onto the white layer and see which one looks better. Let's see, I need to make these line up better here. What I should have done is trimmed the comp so that I would just go back to the home, go back to the beginning of the comp to do my paste instead of trying to figure out which frame.
This, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good. Looks better than the trying to do the null object and stuff. Okay, so what you can do is make an animation inside the white solid, like make a comp, make a new composition, and then that's this size, do an animation here, and then you replace the white solid with it, or use the white solid as a track mat to kind of mask out some other animation that you're doing, and then you've then replaced the screen with your own animation that's following the camera motion that you did. And you tracked it all from Mocha. So there's other stuff you would have to do in Mocha. There's like exclusion tracks. So when the finger comes in, you would do a second motion tracking of the hand coming in, and then you would tell this tracker to ignore anything that's happening inside there so that it can continue to focus on the phone. And then you can use the tracking data from tracking the hand as a foreground layer so that it would cover up your animation that you're doing inside your phone. So we'll kind of do more of that stuff as we're trying to superimpose our animation onto the surface of the phone. We'll do a little bit more of that. All right. Let me see if my camera track is done. I'm pretty sure that's what crashed my project. Oh no, I got 3D camera track. Cool. Awesome. Okay, let me see. Let me see if I can put the text down here, and then we'll do this more next week. Mm. Kind of.
It didn't look like it was writing.
Oh, it will.
Oh, you just can't see it. It's off the screen when it's writing.
Yeah, I actually, the plane that this is on is following the keyboard, which is a different plane than the surface of the desk. So that's why it looks like it's drifting a little bit. Still fun though. Okay, so we'll do more with the camera tracker next week. But I mainly just wanted to have that analyzing going on in the background.
Okay, so,
Alright.
I'm sorry, but for the Mocha, I exported the tracking data, but then where do you put it? So how do you get it back into After Effects?
So to get it from Mocha into After Effects, all these analyzed frames are going to become keyframes when you paste them into After Effects. So you have to click on the Export Tracking Data button
I did
right
that.
here. Then you go, if you do the After Effects corner pin, you copy that to the clipboard. And then as soon as, now the way corner pin works is it uses the coordinates of an object that would be the same size as the comp. So that's why I created a new solid, okay, that was the size of this comp. And then all you do is simply hit Command V to paste all this corner pin data onto that layer. Because this is actually a solid that's 2148 by, or 2048 by 1080. All right, I'll come help you.